Afternoon, Rotarians. Welcome to the May 14th meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I am your president, Tim Lilwitz. We did not have a greeter today, so a reminder, you can, if you want to greet, please see Kitty at a future meeting, and we'd enjoy having you help us out there. Bob Vedra will be up here in a moment to give our moment of inspiration and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test, and then we will greet our fellow Rotarians. So, Bob?
Thank you, President Tim. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. On Tuesday, I asked my visited CEO members the following question: what do you want to build? The answers focused on the respective businesses. Examples were: build something that is sustainable for the second and third employee generations. Build wealth for employees through our employee-owned company. Build an elite team. In reflection, I pondered how we have built our lives today and what we want in the future. In my opinion, our lives are always under construction. What is the foundation that we decide to build our lives upon? What are the values, attitudes, beliefs, and convictions that move us forward each day? How have they changed over the years? What parts of our lives have undergone a remodeling project? In post-remodeling process, how did we step back and view what was done? Did we smile, frown, or say this project and at this time, I did the best I could? Where did these changes take you? Perhaps it was love, children, great friendships, and life experiences which you treasure. Every day we have the opportunity to create large changes or small changes in our lives. We make the choice to either do so or not. We decide the house of life we want to live in. The remodeling project of life is never completed. There is always something to add and discard. Taking the time to reflect on where you are now and what you want to continue to build will move you forward. We also have the opportunity each day to contribute to our community in large and small gestures. Comments of appreciation, a thank you, a hello, statements of love and affection, among others. These are the treasures we can put on the shelves in our house of life. I would like to share with you a few quotes on building a good life. The purpose of our life needs to be positive. We weren't born with a purpose causing trouble, harming others. For our life to be of value, I think we must develop basic good human qualities: warmth, kindness, compassion, and then our life becomes meaningful and more peaceful, happier. The Dalai Lama. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste the experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear of newer or richer experience. Eleanor Roosevelt. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is the result of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinion drown your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Steve Jobs. In conclusion, what do you want your house of life to look like? What will give you personal comfort, and what will it project into the world? Please join me to pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the four-way test.
Is the truth, is fair to all concerned, will build goodwill and better friendships, will be beneficial to all concerned.
Greet your fellow Rotarians.
See how this finishes. If you know anyone, you can say hi or whatever else. It's a good chance to see him. Thank you, Bob.
Like that. That was good.
David, how are you?
Sometime I'll tell you.
It's fully closed. We're right on notice. We're good. We're good.
All right. That was a very robust reading session on a nice sunny day. Still going. All right, we'll move on with our program before we get to Stacy. So, as we do every week, we will acknowledge those of us, those guests that have joined us today. And actually, today we have 3 guests that are just all seated here at the front table. So, Jody Verdon, Kyle Charles, and Lindsay Good. Go ahead and stand so we can recognize you. They're with LifeServe with Stacy, so they're here as her guests this week. So, thank you for joining us. And then normally we would have other potential guests who we label as prospective members, and I wanted to move this announcement forward today and talk about it before the end of the meeting. We're all kind of rushing to get out, but May 19th, next Tuesday, is our new and prospective member appreciation social at Jasper Winery. You've heard me talk about it. Invitations have been sent to those new members who've joined within the past 2 years. And everyone else is welcome to attend as long as you're bringing a prospective member. And I don't want that to be misconstrued as someone signing their life away, they have to join the Rotary Club of Des Moines. But I want this to be an opportunity to, and Marnie's done a great job putting it together. You know, sometimes we can't get people in our circle to lunch for whatever reason. So this is another opportunity, very casual, business casual dress. It's on rain or shine at a great location. So if you have anyone in your circle that you think would, might be interested in even just potentially becoming a Rotarian, please make time to invite them and RSVP to Kitty with your name and your prospective member's name, and we'll see you next Tuesday afternoon. All right, where in the world is Club 27? As most of you know, and for our 3 guests, the Rotary Club of Des Moines is the 27th Rotary Club founded in the world, of over 45,000 Rotary clubs in 200 countries. So. He's back again. He's honoring our speaker here, though. We have past president Doug Salzgeber, who's not with us today, but he wanted to share this. And actually, to give Doug a lot of credit, Doug has donated 23 gallons of blood starting in his life, starting as a senior in high school. And Doug states his favorite phlebotomist here is Martha. And if there's anyone in the world who I think would have a favorite phlebotomist, it would be Doug Salzgeber. That doesn't surprise me in one bit.
Check his math.
Yeah, right. Check his math. All right. Next we have Michael Wolnerman. Thanks for sending this photo of him and his son Benny, and they were in southern Florida while Benny was taking some scuba diving lessons recently. So thanks, Michael, for sending that in. And then finally, our own Kitty and Steve were up in Maine, just fresh back. When was it? Tuesday? You got back? Fresh back from Maine, and they took a sail around Camden, Maine, up near Acadia National Park. So we're glad you got to have some time away from us. I'm sure you're thrilled to be back. All right, just a reminder: if you're going somewhere fun, please send in your photographs, and we'll put you up on the big screen. Last, before we get to Stacy, we do have Rotary Law and Disorder this week. Where's the applause? All right. Rotary Law and Disorder for our guests. I am a practicing attorney, so I'd like to take a few minutes to poke fun at my chosen profession and point out some humorous either lawsuits or silly lawyer stories. Unfortunately, when you Google lawsuits and blood, usually you don't get the most uplifting stories, or humorous for that matter. So I figured this week we would talk a little bit about something related to blood, and that's blood alcohol content, as drunk people usually provide us very humorous tales in litigation. So this week, August 31st, 2009, Proctor, Minnesota. Anyone ever been to Proctor, Minnesota? It's right outside Duluth. Yeah, You would, Anna. Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully this is not someone that's related to you or that you knew, but Mr. Dennis Leroy Anderson was arrested for DWI with a blood alcohol level of 0.29, more than 3 times the legal limit. Does anyone know or want to guess what Mr. Anderson was driving when he was arrested in Proctor, Minnesota?
Tractor.
Anyone else?
Zamboni.
Close. I did see a story about one of those. He was driving a recliner. That's right. Mr. Anderson, who I think probably put a lot of thought into this, had taken his favorite recliner, fitted it with a lawnmower engine, wheels, a steering wheel, a stereo, headlights, a power antenna, and last but not least, but probably a necessity, cup holders for Mr. Anderson. It could go up to 20 miles an hour, and lo and behold, he was arrested after he crashed his chair into a parked car after leaving the local bar, which was probably not the first time he had done so. And he told the cops he only had 8 or 9 beers, so he should have been fine. 2 legal nuances to this case. First, you might think, well, he's not driving a vehicle. Well, motor vehicle in Minnesota was defined in the statute as any vehicle, or I think it was something on wheels that was self-propelled. So it would include a recliner. And second, in Minnesota, apparently the law is that if a drunk driver is arrested with a blood alcohol content of 0.2 or over, and they've had a DWI conviction in the last 10 years, the police officers can confiscate the vehicle. So, shockingly, Mr. Anderson had a prior DWI and was over 0.2, so the Proctor Police Department confiscated and put up for auction on eBay said recliner. They said it was a Lazy Boy, and it was really kind of funny. There was a lot of articles. Apparently, Lazy Boy got pretty pissed that they said it was a Lazy Boy. So the company contacted them, and they immediately took it down, even though they had already had bids of up to $43,000 for the recliner on eBay. But after taking it down, they actually auctioned it off on another website, and it sold for $3,700 to a local Duluth resident, and the money went to charity. No word I couldn't find on whether that person is still using that recliner for the purposes it was intended. But I wish they had a picture. I spent way too much time yesterday trying to find a picture of this thing. I could not find it anywhere. But that's our Rotary Law and Disorder for today. So, Chris Anderson, our Vice Chair of the Program Committee, who's ready to step into the programs next year, I'm sure. Looking forward to it. He will now introduce our keynote speaker for today. Chris?
Thank you, President Tim. Stacy Simon is the President and Chief Executive Officer of LifeServe Blood Center, where she brings more than 30 years of experience in blood banking and transfusion medicine. Her career began as a medical technologist in a transfusion service, and she has since held a variety of leadership and operational roles in both hospital and blood center settings. Stacy leverages a unique combination of technical experience, operational insight, and strategic leadership to advance LifeServe Blood Center and to contribute to the broader blood banking industry. Since she currently serves on the boards of Blood Centers of America, the National Blood Center Cooperative, and the National Blood Testing Cooperative, a founding member of NBTC, Stacy has helped guide the cooperative's growth from a startup to an organization testing more than 1.2 million units of donated blood annually. Stacy has served at all levels of board leadership, beginning as being past chair of all 3 national boards she serves. She is a member and past chair of the American Blood Center Policy Council, helping shape national advocacy strategy for the blood community. These roles helped Stacy become White House appointed member of the Advisory Committee on the Blood and Tissue Safety, representing blood centers nationally and helping craft federal policy related to blood and tissue safety. Beyond her national role, Stacy serves on several community boards as well. Stacy holds a bachelor's degree from North Dakota State University and a master's degree from Drake University. She is certified as a medical laboratory scientist and as a specialist in blood banking by the American Society for Clinical Pathology. Please help me welcome Stacy to the podium.
Thank you so much for having us. I do want to point out that Kyle and Lindsay are here, and afterwards, if you have questions about blood drives, donor eligibility, any of that, they're available. We're also going to talk a bit about our beautiful new building in Johnston, and so if you have questions or would like to schedule a tour, Jody can give you cards that she's going to have to dig out of my purse because I forgot to give them to her. But realistically today, as we talk about the Blood Center, it feels like it's such a good fit between the work that you guys do and our work, because you are focused on service, and really everything we do is about serving, because everything starts with a volunteer blood donor. So I thought today we would talk about, I'm hoping this will advance. I've got the green light on.
You do. All right.
All right, I'm gonna let you advance.
there it
How about that? So a lot of you are familiar with our mission, but you might not necessarily connect who LifeServe Blood Center is. So LifeServe Blood Center actually is the organization that ensures your healthcare system, your hospital, has the blood available that it needs to respond to trauma. So if you think of it the way we do, which is your blood goes to your hospital to serve your neighbor. And realistically, that is critical. So if you see us collecting blood in a community, and you'll see in a little while that we have a large presence, that means we are the exclusive provider to that community. So we don't collect blood where we're not serving the community, and that's really the foundation of what we're built, is that we want to be that local connection between the blood donor and their local hospital. Ultimately, our job is to make sure that when you, your family member, or your neighbor needs a blood transfusion, it's available. And you might think that that's always the case. I would tell you more and more in this country that is not the case, and we're going to talk a little bit on why that's not the case. I'm going to see if this advances, otherwise my friend is just going to advance for me, I think. So go ahead. So this is our coverage area. A lot of people are used to thinking of the Blood Center as just the state of Iowa. We are now serving hospitals in 5 states. In the last 15 years, we've grown by 200%. So at this point, we have grown so quickly that we're serving 177 hospitals in 5 states, providing blood to those communities. So all of those counties shaded in blue in Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, into Illinois are being served by LifeServe Blood Center and the donors that we collect blood from. What that means is we have 329 team members who are going out every single day, either collecting blood or doing something with it in our testing labs. We actually run a 24-hour operation. So when you drive by that building of ours in Johnston, we're actually busy in that location 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of if it's a holiday or not. Because believe it or not, people get sick on Christmas Day, on Christmas Eve, and they have to be able to have blood products. We do that through many donor centers. So we have 16 donor centers. We have several distribution hubs. And so really what happens when you donate blood, we collect the unit of blood. It goes back to one of the locations that we say are a manufacturing location, of which we have 3, the largest being in Johnston. From there, we use basic science principles, and we're going to talk about those in a bit, to actually create the blood product that the patient needs. Because the way you donate blood, believe it or not, is not the way the patient actually needs to transfuse a unit of blood. From there, we then move it to distribution hubs across the 3 states. So we have distribution hubs all the way up in Aberdeen, South Dakota, Omaha, Nebraska, Davenport, Iowa, so across the state of Iowa. And then it actually transfers to the hospitals. And so we really like to think of this model as a very local model. With our 200% hospital growth in the last 15 years, we've now actually slowed growth. because we have more hospitals calling us every day that are needing more service. So at the table earlier, Chris said to me, well, why would you get a phone call? And what's happening is hospitals are not able to access their blood. So if you think about it, if you want to have major surgery, it's likely you're going to need a blood transfusion. In fact, 90% of you, by the time you reach the age of 90, are going to need a unit of blood. So if you're a hospital that's doing major surgery, it is likely that you need to have blood supply on your shelf. Actually, to be a hospital, it is required by CMS that you have at least 4 units of blood on your shelf. Access to those blood products has gotten to be very difficult, especially coming out of the pandemic. And that is because blood donors have shifted. I am guessing the people in this room, when I do an exercise in a little bit, a lot of you donate blood. If instead we were looking at a group under the age of 40, the demographics would be significantly different. So in the United States right now, we're facing a challenge that we don't have enough blood donors to meet the growing medical demand of what's going on in this amazing country. We're going to go ahead and advance. In 2025, we collected 143,000 units of blood, and you might go, well, that's a lot. It is, but it's actually not quite enough. There were times in the country, in the United States, that blood supply was in a shortage. There's actually a national network. So you might go, what would happen if blood supply is short and something happens like a mass casualty event? We see those on the news. There's actually a group known as BERC, which is the Blood Emergency Readiness Corps. So for example, when the shooting happened in Uvalde, Texas, we were one of the on-call blood centers, one of 10 blood centers that were on call. The minute that shooting was announced, a notification goes out. Without asking a single question, we packed up 24 units of blood and sent it immediately to Texas. So the blood centers have created a national network that allow us to move blood products around in those emergencies, which is very positive. The negative part about it is there's still not enough blood products in the United States. When we think about where blood is collected, 49% is collected on a mobile blood drive. A mobile blood drive is when you go to your business, your church, your high school, your college, and you donate a unit of blood. About 50%, so just a little bit over 50%, is donated at our donor centers. And if you're a blood donor, the best place to donate, I'm not gonna lie, is at a donor center. And if I were you, I'd come to our Johnston location because we've changed it to a spa-like environment, because what we found is people don't wanna go to a place that looks like a clinic. And if you go to most of our donor centers, so the photo was at, I believe, our Marshalltown donor center. Do you think? I think it was Marshalltown, we'll have to find out. Or it was downtown, they both look very similar. But that looks very much like a clinic when you walk in. You feel like you're going to the doctor's office. And as we surveyed our blood donors, what they said to us is, I don't really want to go donate blood where it's a clinic. I want to feel like I'm at a spa. So we have started to change our environment. So if you come see us at our Johnston building, what you're going to find out is we look much more like a spa. We have big windows, we have comfortable chairs, we have fancy snacks, we have all of the stuff you might see in a spa to try and get people to actually come in and donate blood. The average blood donor donates 2.4 times a year, and you might go, that is fantastic. Yep, but it's all driven by platelets. And if you notice, we collected the most platelets we've ever collected last year, over 20,000 platelets. Those donors can donate 24 times a year. So there are many of them that donate that frequently. So what's happening is those donors are bringing up the whole blood donors who are only donating one time. Realistically, it doesn't matter where you donate, it matters that you're donating. There is a significant difference between red blood cells and platelets. So red blood cells are the product that is most transfused. It is the product that carries oxygen in your body, and if you are bleeding, if you're having surgery, the first product that they're going to transfuse you is a red blood cell. Platelets are like the liquid gold, however, because they actually stop the bleeding. So when you cut yourself and you form a scab, the cell in your body that starts that scabbing process is the platelet. So when you donate platelets with us, it's a commitment. So those donors that can donate 24 times a year, they are likely coming in, sitting in one of our chairs, watching a movie, because their donation took an hour and a half sitting in that chair. But it is a product that only lasts for 7 days. So if you think about the challenge of having to move that blood product around, get it to where it needs to be across 5 states, with a 7-day out date rate, it's pretty difficult. Red blood cells last 42 days, so it's still a challenge, but at least we have weeks versus days to move that blood product around. Let's go ahead and advance. Last year, there were 187,000 blood products delivered by LifeServe Blood Center. And so if you think about that, I said 143,000 blood products collected. In a little while, you're going to see that there were 129,000 blood donors. How does that work? Well, what happens is when you donate, you can save more than one life. And so there are times that we can take a donation and we can actually manufacture using science principles. Anyone know what those science principles, other than the 3 up front? Gravity. So guess what? The cells in your body have different weights. Centrifugation, so as we spin them, they will form little pockets based on how heavy they are. And then filtration, just like when you use your coffee filter at home, we can run the blood product through a filter and we can create a red blood cell, we can create a platelet, and we can create plasma. All 3 of those products have a different purpose in the body, and we're able to do that. The key here is we actually need different donors by blood type. So today, if we looked and said, what blood type do we need for whole blood donors? How many of you think that there are 6 blood types currently critically low in this community? These 3 people are going to raise their hand. If you are O positive or O negative, B positive or B negative or A negative, we are currently in critical low status on blood supply. And what that means is we are likely holding blood products and moving them around around the hospitals to try and ensure the right blood product gets to the right patient. So the need for blood is not going down, but the number of donors is going down significantly. So let's go ahead and advance. Our whole process is driven by volunteers. So you think about the fact that we have volunteer blood donors, but what you don't think about is a whole lot of the rest of our process is driven by volunteers. So if you're retired, thinking about retiring, and you need a retirement gig, come see us. Because we have 154 active volunteers. The vast majority of those are actually out of our Johnston location. They've committed to over 18,000 hours just last year. We also use volunteer chair people. So when a business has a blood drive, it's likely a person at the business that's volunteered to host the blood drive. So they're getting paid. But if you work in a community and it's a community blood drive, this is just Betty from the church who volunteered to have the blood drive, and she's not getting paid. In total, our volunteers drove 2 million miles last year. That's in our vehicles delivering blood. So if you think about it, what happens is the blood is collected, it comes to Johnston. Now we have to get it to all of those distribution centers. We then have to get it to all of those hospitals. So that is volunteer-driven miles. If you added staff-driven miles, we'd be to 4 million miles we put on our vehicles in a year. We also hire FedEx, UPS, and about 5 different courier companies to make sure that blood products move through the system nonstop. So the movement of blood products and logistics for us is a nonstop challenge because of that 7-day outdate of platelets and 42-day outdate of a red blood cell. Let's go ahead and advance. Our biggest challenge is the number of blood donors that are in the system. And it's not the people in this room that are creating the challenge. So if you look at these statistics, you're gonna see that about 77% of our blood donors are over the age of 40, which means only 30% of our blood donors are under the age of 40. And the problem with that is that's who we need to rely on, right? Because as we age, what happens? We begin to have different diseases, different medications that make us ineligible to donate blood. And so last year, we collected 1.6% less blood products than the year before. At a time where in our community, the need for blood is actually advancing more quickly than you would imagine. So we have started to commit almost all of our marketing resources to finding young donors. If you'd advance for me. So we have started to do a lot of work with high school donors. So if you have a high school or a high school grandchild, child, we actually are providing scholarships. So to a high school who hosts a blood drive, they're able to actually qualify for a scholarship. But additionally, if a child, 16, 17, 18-year-old wants to host a blood drive, and they reach their milestone for the number of donors that walk in the door, we will actually give them a scholarship to the school of their choice. Last year, we paid out 103 scholarships of totaling $27,000. We've actually added an additional $50,000 this year, thinking we would be able to get that program to $75,000. So the funding is there. Guess what's not there? The students who want to have the blood drive. So we will not pay out that $75,000. So there's scholarship dollars, unfortunately, left on the table. There were approximately 1,717 donors of distinction. Has anyone been to a scholarship program where you see the red cord? So the red cord indicates that somebody, one of those students actually donated 3 times before they graduated. So that's a pretty big deal, and we care about that number because statistics show if by the time you graduate high school, you have donated at least 3 times, guess what will happen? You will continue to donate, right? Here's the problem, there's only 1,717. In this room, we care about that, but that is not enough people to keep our blood supply strong and healthy because it's just not enough people. Last year, there were 11,000, just over 11,000 high school donors in our 5 states. So that is not very many when you think of the number of high school students. In general, we are much more successful in rural communities. So I don't think that should shock you. If we go to Cherokee High School in Cherokee, Iowa, they will likely have a very large blood drive. They will have not only the students, the parents, but others. We struggle in more metro communities. So if we looked in the Des Moines metro community, some of those blood drives are actually smaller than some of the blood drives in some of those small rural communities. And I think it's probably distraction, commitment, and just a lot of things, but we are really struggling in this market. And if you have ideas, this is a huge part of the work that Kyle and the team in PR and marketing are doing, is they're redesigning our entire PR and marketing effort to focus exclusively on donors under the age of 30. And so what you'll see is we know that you're gonna continue to donate. Whether we ask you to donate or not, you're likely coming in, you're making your appointment, and you will do that. That person under the age of 30 isn't doing that. And so we're changing our focus to focus almost exclusively on that under 30 person. All right, let's go ahead. I want to assure you that what we see going on with younger donors is going on nationally. So this is every blood center in the country minus two groups. It does not include American Red Cross blood donors, and it does not include blood donors that were collected at a hospital. So since 2015, 39% decline in donors under the age of 30. And if you think about that, that's pretty startling. Since 2021, we have increased those donations by 18%, but that still means we have a big decline. And that matters because realistically, if a blood center is short on blood products, it means the hospital is short on blood products, which means a transfusion to a patient is delayed. So the work we're doing matters, and that's what we're continuing to do. At the same time as we're worried about the number of donors, there are amazing things going on in this community. And so we're gonna go ahead and advance a slide. There is a new program called the Pre-Hospital Transfusion Program, and you may have seen this program on the news. So this is where actually the ambulances are now carrying blood. In the state of Iowa, this is not an approved program because only nurses are allowed to transfuse currently. But we worked with the Des Moines and West Des Moines EMT and the state of Iowa to get a trial program. So they're actually carrying blood since 2025. And then we're also having blood carried in Vermillion, South Dakota. And you might go, why does this matter? Here's why it matters. The statistics show that if you have a car accident, you have a GI bleed, or you have challenges before or after childbirth where you're bleeding, if you receive a transfusion within 1 hour of that starting, your morbidity and mortality 30 days out is wildly improved. In fact, Dr. Sidwell from Unity Point and Iowa Clinic would tell you carrying blood transfusions in ambulances is the #1 game changer in saving lives. He feels every single year, just in the city of Des Moines, 400 lives will be saved because they are carrying blood in an ambulance, which is fantastic. We actually have in this a video. We are going to skip it because I'm just not sure we'll have time. But there is a video on the City of Des Moines website that talks about the importance of this program. And you might have heard about the young man at Broadlands who was stabbed. He was stabbed multiple times in the chest. When the EMTs arrived, they actually transfused 2 units of blood on the way to the hospital. And he was from Broadlands really to Unity Point, so not very far. They transfused 2 units of blood. The young man actually received 30 more units of blood while he was in surgery, but he is alive today, talking, advocating for blood donation, and realizes that had that program to carry blood products in the ambulance not been there, he wouldn't be alive today. And that matters because any one of us could be in that situation. The challenge is this is only 2 ambulance services, and we feel like there are many, many more that need to carry these blood products, and we don't have enough blood donors. And so we need everybody's help to try and engage people to continue to donate blood. So I would encourage you to find that video, because if you want to learn more about that program, you'll hear the fire department, you'll hear Dr. Sidwell talking about how important the whole process of donating a unit of blood and carrying it on an ambulance is. And it really does make a big difference, and it is a great opportunity for this community to elevate our already outstanding healthcare. The other thing I want to just briefly talk about, thank you, Bill Wright, is we have a beautiful new building. So if you haven't been by or to our building on Johnston, so it's on Merle Hay and Johnston Drive, it's right at that corner, I would encourage you to come and see us. This is a building that we designed. We used to live right by the state capitol, just really a few blocks from here on 4th Street. That was a building we moved in. It used to be a bank, and we tried to move a blood center into a bank, which worked, but not very well. And so with our growth, we realized we needed to create a facility that was designed for us. So we worked with local architects, BNIM, to design this building, and what I'm going to point out is to date, they have received more than 5 awards, including an international award. We were named World Building of the Week. This has nothing to do with the blood center. This has everything to do with the professionals behind it that designed and built the building. But it is designed in a manner that allows us to be totally efficient. So it's little things from how carts move through the building, because we move a lot of carts in our building, but it's also about the way we think about sustainability. So one of the things we wanted to do as a nonprofit was to make sure that we could eliminate the costs that we could long-term to make us more effective. So in that building on Locust Street, per square foot, we paid, anyone want to guess, per square foot what we paid for electrical? I'll tell you, we got a naughty letter from Mid-American every month. About $2.84 a square foot in electrical. In our new building, which is 4,000 square feet smaller, but 100% used, our old building was about 63,000 square feet with about 15,000 square foot of space that really wasn't used because it just wasn't designed well. Our new building has 3 freezers, 2 large walk-in refrigerators, and with geothermal, we spend about 84 cents a square foot. We just added solar panels. Solar panels will reduce that by another 40%, and we'll be down to about 50 cents a square foot, generating about 40 to 50% of our own electric depending on the time of the year. Of course, it's Iowa in January. We're not getting very much. June and March we'll get a lot. So in March, This March, we generated 12 days where we didn't have to pull any power off the grid. We were fully self-sustainable, which for a nonprofit, if we can lower those kind of costs, it really does matter. But all through that building, you'll see that there are a lot of things that we built into the design, from the spa-like donor center, to the way we move carts through, to the way the levers sit on the building. Everybody talks about those weird metal bars that are on front of the building. People either like them or they think it's the ugliest building in the world. But they actually have a design where it allows the sun to hit those levers. The waves that heat your building deflect and the light comes into the building. So the building is very bright and open, but doesn't really heat like a normal building, which has been very, very effective. In the next few weeks, actually maybe 2 months, I guess, it's the end of July, actually CBS News will be here, and they'll be doing a 30-minute show on the building and how it was designed, and will be featured on national TV as one of the buildings this year on good architectural design. So it's really quite an accomplishment and something that everybody, I think, at LifeServe is proud of, BNIM and Hanson are proud of, but it really does make a big difference to us. We're gonna go ahead and advance. At the end of the day, everything we do matters because our impact starts with you. So whether you're a blood donor or not, I would ask that you think about a few things. If you're not donating, take that donor eligibility guide that's on the table, right? Oh, no, we have donor eligibility guides here. Take the donor eligibility guide and re-look at it, because a lot of times people will say to me, I'm on a blood thinner, I can't donate. Guess what? You can donate now. We've changed that. I've had cancer, I can't donate. Guess what? We've changed that. There's only a short amount of time after a cancer diagnosis that you're not able to donate. And we've really re-looked at all of those things. So if you're not donating, consider donating because we need you. If you're in a position of influence, please consider having your company host a blood drive. But even more importantly, if you have someone in your life that's under the age of 30, you should be talking to them about how important it is for them to donate blood. Because unless that age group starts to donate blood, there will be times where we will go to the hospital, and it already happens in parts of this country, and there won't be blood available. And that will then slow care, and it will impact things. So we really are asking you to consider joining us in our mission to have a really stable community blood supply, and either donate, volunteer, share your story. And to just give an example of this, I'm gonna do one exercise before I close. I want you to raise your hand if you personally have ever received a blood transfusion. Pat, keep your hands up. Who has a family member who has received a blood transfusion? Who has a friend who has received a blood transfusion? What you're gonna notice when you look around the table is almost all of you have been impacted by the work that we do. And so to have a great, strong community blood supply means we have to have great, strong supporters. And although those three are fantastic at their job, to have an amazing community blood supply, which we do, but to continue that amazing blood supply, we need all of you. And we need you engaged in doing those kind of things. And so with that, I'm gonna close and let you ask any questions that you have. Bob.
Stacey, thank you for a wonderful presentation. You mentioned the trial that they're doing in West Des Moines and the other communities. What's the barrier to the state legislature saying, obviously the example, that young man who was severely stabbed and the units of blood, I mean, why would they not say, go?
It's not, so it is not a legislative issue. So this isn't something the legislator can change. It's a health board issue. And so realistically what will happen is the study will run until, I want to say June 1st. That data will get presented, and then what I would anticipate will happen is that you will see a change in EMT and nursing rules that will broaden so that EMTs can transfuse. It is important to note that does not solve the problem for the state of Iowa, because I don't know if you realize this, but very few rural ambulance services have EMTs. They are almost all volunteer. And so if you think about it, in Des Moines, we're already closer to getting a blood transfusion within an hour. So it's great that our ambulances carry it, and we are going to impact a lot of lives. But if you're in the middle of Iowa and you have a volunteer ambulance service, they're not going to ever be able to carry blood. So our solution to that is the ambulances, the air ambulances will carry, but this is still a problem in the state of Iowa that's going to need some fixing. A lot of other states have fixed that by having EMTs in those rural ambulance services.
I'm a blood donor.
Thank you.
So I do that. Anyway, I also have A negative blood, so you understand why I understand why it's important. The confusion I think that is out there is what is the difference between LifeServe and BioLife?
That is a great question.
Because I think there is some confusion there, and also the incentives that are there to go, say, on a volunteer basis to support LifeServe versus the paid aspects of a BioLife experience. If you just clarify some of that so we understand how it's.
That is a great question. Here's a little known fact. Do you know what the 10th largest export of the United States is? Plasma.
Oh.
Plasma collected at BioLife. So what BioLife collects is plasma. I want to make sure everybody understands this. They're making very important drug products, but those drug products actually are being made in Europe. So they collect plasma in the United States because the United States is one of only 2 countries that allows plasma donors to be paid. And so because they can pay their plasma donors, they collect their plasma here, they take it to Europe, and they manufacture pharmaceuticals. Now, one of the really sad realities is during the pandemic, guess which country was short of the products that we needed from these pharmaceutical companies? The United States. So at BioLife, they'll kind of hint that they're transfusing hospital patients. They're not. If you're getting a transfusion in the hospital, if you're getting plasma, you're getting platelets, you're getting red blood cells, you are getting that from LifeServe Blood Center if you see us in your area. You could be getting it from Impact Life if you're in a different part of Illinois. So every area has their own blood products. So BioLife is exclusively run by large pharmaceutical companies. They're collecting that plasma and they're taking it, and they can have much different donor criteria than we can. And you might go, why is that? Well, because they take it and they freeze it for a year. Remember our 7-day out date, right? So they get to freeze it for a year, and in that year, they'll find out if somebody has any kind of infectious disease, and then they can throw that blood product away. We don't get that benefit because we're transfusing a blood product that has only 7 days. What they do to entice, and this is especially one of our issues with that under 30 group, is they pay. And I'm not sure there's anything we're gonna be able to say, if you're not able to feed your children, I'm not sure you're gonna choose to volunteer your blood donation. You're probably gonna choose BioLife, but I think there is a group that we can influence. So the payment comes from the pharmaceutical company, but that is also why the pharmaceutical product is so expensive, right? Because it's being paid for. So it's not actually being used in the same healthcare product. Does that help?
Immensely. I didn't understand all that, so thank you.
Yeah,
One more question.
absolutely.
Oh, go ahead. I did one more, yeah.
So what would be the difference between Red Cross? I mean, what are they doing, and how's that different?
So in Des Moines, the Red Cross isn't actively providing blood products to any of the local hospitals, but there are areas in Nebraska and in Kansas and other parts of the country where the Red Cross is actively the blood supplier. So in Des Moines, I think they do a lot of great work. It's just not as the blood provider to the hospitals.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy. Great presentation. And on behalf of the Rotary Club of Des Moines, thanks for sharing that important information with us and the work of LifeServe Blood Center. We appreciate your guys' leadership and in supporting a strong, reliable blood supply for not only our community but across your entire footprint. So, and Stacy will be around for a few minutes if you have extra questions, or like she said, come up and take some information if you would like it. Upcoming meetings and speakers. Remember to RSVP to Kitty by Wednesday at 9 a.m. Next week, May 21st, Jeff Lorenzen from American Equity will be here. Please note, Jeff has asked us not to record, which I think we're going to get this request more and more into the future, not record his speech here. So it will not be available on our YouTube channel. So if you want to come hear Jeff speak, please RSVP and attend in person. May 28th, Paige Moore, the CEO of the Ronald McDonald House, will be here. And then on June 4th, to follow up on one of our questions, our own Rotary Club of Des Moines member, Leslie Schaefer, will be here. She is the Executive Director of Northern and Central Iowa chapter of the American Red Cross. Okay, upcoming events. We talked about our new and prospective members social next Tuesday, May 19th. So please RSVP to Kitty with that by tomorrow. A few more that we'll give more details on upcoming that we have in the works. But Thursday, June 11th, the Pickleball Fellowship will be meeting. Thursday, June 25th, the Bourbon Club, and then Saturday, July 11th, we're going to have a Prairie Meadows Rotary Day at the races. More to come on that fun gathering. Finally, our last morning fuel of this Rotary year will be on June 9th, featuring Susan Scharnberg as our featured speaker. So thank you, all of you, again, for being with us today and being a vital part of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. Thank you to our 3 guests who joined us. Until next week, stay true to the good. We are adjourned.